You're getting louder with Crowder.
But you're a strange animal, I got to follow. Oh, I'm in the spiritus.
All right, glad to be back. Second hour. Ben Shapiro was a great guest. I am your host. Again, producing with me in studio, as always, is Jared. You can follow him at NotGayJared on Twitter. I fulfill my legal obligations. You can draw your own conclusions. Tim Kennedy coming up at the bottom of the hour here. I need to set the stage here a little bit for you once I get my computer working. The interwebs is just a real problem. Gosh, you know, you'd think they'd had enough time to have perfected it.
Not so lucky.
This video went viral. We covered it at louderwithcrowder.com. At that point, it had only had not a ton of plays. Someone sent it to me. By the way, thank you so much for people who send us stories. Sometimes our best stories are, you know, local things that we run that nobody else carries, and people just send them to me, and I go, oh, you know, we should really write about this, and it does really well, and other people pick it up. So thank you, Crowderheads, for doing that. This happened at San Francisco University.
Where else?
I believe it's San Francisco University. San Francisco something.
Surprise!
I don't know if it's San Francisco College. I don't. You know, you can get those things wrong. Somewhere where you legally have to pay for someone else's Lorena Bobbitt penis. Somewhere in that vicinity, this happened. So we were talking about this earlier, and it's gone viral, and a lot of people just aren't aware as to how bad things have gotten on college campus. So, Jared, you can bring up my screen. This woman who you see, the sideshow Bob hairdo-looking character, is, for those listening terrestrially, we're doing this in the live stream. I will try and create this in the theater of your mind to describe it for you. She's looking aggressively at this white kid. Granted, I look at him and I would like to, you know, stuff him in a locker, but that's not. It's not my right. And someone behind there who looks what would appear to be a gay Inspector Gadget.
It looks like Jesse Eisenberg had a baby with Shaggy from like Scooby-Doo, doesn't it?
The dreadlock
the dude guy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this guy gets stopped, and this black woman who works at the school starts berating him. Why? Well, I'll let you listen.
Do you know it was in Egyptian culture? Are you Egyptian? Nah, bro, you're not. Are you
No. So here, let me.
Why?
Okay, you need to hear that. She's saying what you're doing is problematic. He says, why? She says, because it's my culture, meaning his dreadlocks. Let me continue.
Do you know it was in Egyptian culture? Are you Egyptian? Nah, bro, you're not.
Damn!
Are you Egyptian? No, but it doesn't matter.
Wait, where's Egypt? Tell me.
You know what, girl?
Where's Egypt?
Dude, go.
Now she's grabbing him, for those who are listening terrestrially. She's grabbing him. He's trying to remove himself from the situation. Made a good point about Egyptian culture. I didn't know that about the dreadlocks in Egyptian culture. I thought it was nothing but scarabs and Billy Zane. So she starts blocking him. He's trying to get away now. She stops him, this employee, or someone or a school worker. I don't know what a campus worker means. I don't know if she's paid. She stops him to berate him for his hairdo, claiming that it's racially offensive. He makes a point that, listen, this goes back to Egypt. And then he tries to remove himself. She follows him, blocks him, and now she's putting hands on him.
Tell me what I heard. Huh? Yo, girl, stop touching me. Yo, girl, stop touching me right now.
She starts mocking him and grabs his wrist. Now she's grabbing his wrist and yanking him back. So there you go. Now, so that's all you need to see. She stopped. Let me recap this for you, okay? Black woman stops white guy because he has cornrows. Berates him for being racially insensitive, for cultural appropriation. I'll explain that term to you for those who don't know. I know many of you have jobs. It's hard to keep up. He says, this isn't even your culture. This is Egyptian culture. I'm not trying to be offensive. Tries to remove himself. She blocks him. She yanks him. And yanks him back. He tries to walk away again. She grabs him. And he says, yo, don't touch me. And he wax on, wax off, to describe for people listening terrestrially, to get her hands off of him. And then she complains about him putting hands on her, and the gay Inspector Gadget, white knight behind her looking character says, oh, I can't believe it. So here's the thing, right? It's kind of like the pepper spray story that we'll get to. The pepper spray story that happened at a Trump rally. If this video didn't exist, and this is most cases, right, in the United States, the story would be white student assaults female black employee. And she would have made it a racial thing and probably gone on the talk show circuit and say, yeah, it's really hard to be a black woman on campus. What with us being put there with all the quotas, with our grades not even being high enough, it's really hard. We feel bad about ourselves. That would have been the story that you heard. Kind of like the Congressman Clyburn situation when Andrew Breitbart was alive and he claimed he was called the N-word and it didn't happen. There was more footage than you could watch in a lifetime from every possible angle. It didn't happen. This would have been the story here without this videotape. She would have made the claim, local paper. This kid probably would. He still may be expelled. I don't know. Similar to, and we'll go to that. Let me bring this up here on my screen for those watching the video cast. And for those listening terrestrially, you can go see all of these articles at louderwithcrowder.com. This is a parallel to a story that was really viral where a girl, there we go, where a girl was at a Trump rally and she got pepper sprayed in the face. And so the headline was, girl gets groped, gets pepper sprayed in the face. Well, we have videotape. Now, this was bad all around. Some Trump fans were yelling the N-word afterward, and she was clearly there, and she assaulted somebody. Nobody is right in this situation. But the media never said, by the way, before the pepper spray, she sucker punched an old man as hard as she possibly could. It's kind of key if you leave it out. So that's why it's important. Keep your cameras rolling all the time. All the time. If you're not being taped now, assume you're being taped, but please keep your cameras rolling, assuming you're truthful. If you want to hide from the truth, then obviously you don't want cameras rolling. That's a great indicator of where someone's character is, if they want transparency or if they don't. So this is so important for the cultural appropriation. Now, when was the first time you've heard about cultural appropriation? Not KJ.
It's probably been the last year or so, actually.
Yeah.
It's a fairly recent kind of thing that's kind of you see popping up more and more in Twitter and social media and that kind of thing. So it's
for people who don't know, it's another form of racism. There are, racism at one point meant you hated people based on their skin color. You thought they were beneath you solely based on their race. Well, that's not what it means anymore. It can mean whatever leftists want it to mean, depending on the day and where they are in their hunger strike. And that also depends on how far into their dad's trust fund they are, as seen at Mizzou. Mizzou. How do you pronounce it? I've always said it wrong.
I think I say it wrong, too. I say Mizzou. I think it's Mizzou.
Mizzou. I said Mitsu for a long time, because there was a French-Canadian singer,
That's
Mitsu.
incredibly wrong.
It is absolutely wrong. There's no doubt that I've said it wrong. Cultural appropriation, for those who don't know, let me just break it down for you real quick. I know a lot of you do know, but keep in mind that a lot of people don't know. It's this idea that it's racist to absorb or use someone else's culture. We told you that story where it was considered cultural appropriation and racist for a frat party to have a tequila themed party, and they had sombreros. That was considered cultural appropriation, and they were banned from public gathering or speaking on the campus. I don't remember the punishment. It was ridiculous punishment. In this case, she's saying it's racist, it's cultural appropriation because white people can't wear cornrows. A white guy wearing cornrows is racist because only black people are allowed to wear cornrows. If you can't see that that worldview is ironically incredibly racist, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to, right now, find your own quiet space where you can take some time to think, meditate if you need to, and throw yourself off a rooftop. I need you to throw yourself off of a rooftop if you believe that a white person wearing cornrows is racist. If you want to compare that, and these people do, to slavery, if you want to compare that to the civil rights struggle, the only productive thing you can do is throw yourself off a roof. Now, I know Stephen just said kill. I didn't say kill yourself. Throw yourself off a roof. There are two very different things. That's cultural appropriation. If that's the case, okay, then, black people can't do a lot of things, right? Friends, Seinfeld, a lot of movies, right? I guess you got Tyler Perry going on, but there are a lot of things out there that black Americans take part in that were created by white people. Apple, iPhones, those things. But we don't think it's racist. I know we're the majority. By the way, cultural appropriation really is kind of a compliment. People don't, you know what it means? It means people like some aspects that your culture has to offer, like hip hop. Remember how it was considered such progress when hip hop hit the mainstream. Even if you haven't seen that documentary, not the documentary, but the I don't know if you call it a biographical film on Run DMC. Was it Run DMC or was it Public Enemy? Was it Run DMC?
I think it's Run DMC.
Run DMC. It was considered a breakthrough. Look, black Americans are just as popular. They're outselling white Americans. And you know what that proved? That people in the United States didn't identify as a race, didn't identify as a tribe. They identified as a set of ideals, and they were open to people of any race or culture, provided they were American, and they were contributing to American culture. It was considered a really good thing. When people like Run DMC or Kids Into the Stairs, LL Cool J, Flavor Flav, obviously, I know these aren't prime examples. My point is it was considered a victory back then. Now that is considered racism because white people would be co-opting them. You should apparently feel guilty if you're a white person and you like hip-hop, let alone blues or rock and roll or soul food in the United States. Apparently, the appreciation of anyone else's culture is considered racist. By the way, you know who's a cultural appropriate? You know who's the worst offender? Is Beyonce.
I was gonna say the Czech.
The Czechs are terrible. But think of Beyonce. Straight blonde hair. Bey. Queen Bee. Come on, that's white people stuff. If I can't wear dreads, I have no intent to wear dreads, but if I can't wear dreads, you can't straighten your hair and dye it blonde. Come on. That's not real. I don't think it's real. I don't know. Beyonce could be real if she's potentially a vampire. There are rumors, we can't confirm them yet. Louder with Crowder will be back after this.